This is mom approved, okay? So I asked some moms. First thing I want to ask you is about a month ago, all of you who are regular attenders got a letter. How many of you got it? Through the email? All right, there's my answer. All right, so here's what I'm going to tell you. So we just had a board meeting about this, and apparently nobody got the email. So then I can't really complain too much at you, but I'm going to just do it a little bit. When you get an email that says from Pastor Jim, read it. Read it, okay? Now, the reason is this. About 3 months ago, or about a month ago, I kind of came in and said we have a deficit in the church, about $4,000. I went through a whole message, so some of you may have remembered that message, and then I sent up a follow-up email to do some internal housekeeping. So it's about a $4,000 deficit that I said, okay, with a sermon and an email, we should be able to knock that out. Bewilderingly, it's now $6,000. So we got to knock it out. Now, here's what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to talk about it more next week in a way that I think will be helpful to everybody. Here's the bottom line. All right. Now, we're going to actually show this to you, not today, but next week. Well, here's what we need. Do you know that if everybody here that's not participating in our finances, if you gave $10 a week, that would be all we need. That's it, $10 a week. So the part of it that's tricky is this is the least favorite thing that a pastor wants to do, especially on Mother's Day. But you got to picture your mom up here without the beard talking to you about doing something that you're supposed to be doing. I can't say it anymore. If you say that you're a disciple of Jesus, which I think we would all say, right? You cannot be a disciple of Jesus and not give to support the work of the gospel. You just can't. It's like saying I'm a disciple of Jesus, but I don't pray. I'm a disciple of Jesus, but I don't read my Bible. I'm a disciple of Jesus, but I don't go to church. The two go hand in hand. Okay, the support of the gospel is mandatory by the people of God. Now, I also think there's extraordinary benefit. And we're going to begin showing you that benefit. At some point, I think you just need to kind of trust what God says and support it. But in the meantime, we do need your support. We're going to go through summer. Everybody's going to be traveling, right? And here's the reality for most of us. If we're not here, we don't give, all right? It's just the way it is. If we're not here, we don't give. But you can't operate anything on that, can you? Right? Because then all of a sudden you kind of pop back into town and you go, hey, where was that church that I used to attend? I go, I don't know. It hadn't been supported. It closed its doors. Now, we're not doing that, but that is the reality that happens to thousands and thousands and thousands of churches all over America right now. So if there's value to this to you, if you see value to it, remember that we need to support. All of us need to support throughout the course of the year, whether we're here or whether we aren't. So here's what I need you to do. I think everybody here, we don't even do offertories anymore. You know why? Because we're not passing a plate around. You know why? Because nobody gives that way anymore. Everybody gives with Venmo or something like it. So I'm assuming that we all know how to use it, right? Now, do you know that there is a repeat function on that? You can do it, set it up to pay every single week. Did you know that? Well, now you do. And also, there's ways to do it with our tithing app. So here's what I need you to do. Are you ready? Everybody get your phone out. Everybody get it out. I know you got it. I'm not going to walk you through it. I just want you to open it. Pretend you're looking at Venmo. Aaron, where does the repeat come in? Is it? All right, I'm just teasing you. I'm not actually doing that. But that's what we do need you to do. Go through it. Figure out how you can continue to support. We can get this six grand is nothing. $6,000 just means some of us need to kind of step up and do some things so that we can knock it out. Is that fair enough? This is mom approved. Mom's approved. You cool with that? Good? All right. Please, please, please don't make me keep talking about this. Please. I'm asking you a personal favor. I don't want to have to get up here and keep talking about it. It's the thing that pastors hate to do the most, and yet it's the thing that has to be done. But not if everybody just does what the pastor says they're supposed to do in the first place, then I'll have to keep saying it, especially not on Mother's Day. You dig? I'm going to have Nina do it. We'd have anybody do it. You can do it if you want. But here's my point. Let's just not, I don't want to have to make this a point of discussion every fiscal quarter or month or when I do my evaluation. And by the way, I don't ever look at the giving receipts, ever. I never have. In 20 years of, 15 years of being a lead pastor, I've never done it. Because I didn't want to judge people differently by what they did or they did not give. But because it's a discipleship issue. Okay, y'all know what discipleship is, right? Discipleship means I'm a follower of Jesus. And if there's things that you're not doing that are indication of being a follower of Jesus, and this is one of them, then I have a moral obligation, a pastoral obligation to say, hey, we can do better with this, all right? And so let's just, wouldn't it be great if we never had to have that discussion again? Everybody all in favor of not ever having this discussion again, right? All right, what's the solution to everybody not... Somebody, right? Right? Board members, is that right? So we just do what we're supposed to do, then I never have to do this again. Cool? Agreed? Awesome. All in favor? It is so moved. All right. So happy Mother's Day to that mom-approved message. I'm just going to dig in, buddy. Because I want to get out here and enjoy the weather. All right. Today's Mother's Day. Mother's Day was established by a woman named Anna Jarvis, right around, it was 1908. And she did it to bring, believe it or not, reconciliation to families after the Civil War. So there was a lot of division in the country. And she had this idea that with Mother's Day, it could be one of the things that people have in common was their mom. Everybody had moms. So moms had this sort of level that they connected at, which was really helpful. And she saw it as a way of bringing reconciliation to the country, which it did. Interestingly enough, towards the end of her life, so within 6 years, it became a national holiday. Interestingly enough, at the end of her life, she objected to the overall commercialization of it. So she actually was trying to get rid of the very thing that she created because it was all just about buying flowers and cards and candies and things like that. I'm wondering sometimes if Mother's Day, particularly in a church like ours, can take on a deeper meaning. Something that means something greater, something more. More than just, kind of coming and taking your mom out to brunch or something like that, coming to the church service and all the things that our moms want from us, right? I've been reflecting a lot on that because here's the culture of motherhood has really changed extraordinarily in our country and throughout the world. Moms look different. There's nuclear families are less and less the majority. Nuclear families, you have the same woman and the same man that have the same children. But now more increasingly blended families have taken over a lot of that. Single motherhood, which I think can be a very positive thing. It means more and more women are keeping their babies and raising their babies, and that I see that as a very positive thing. So single parenting. More and more, did you know about 20% of families now are being raised by single dads? That's a change that's happened extraordinarily in the past, 10 to 15 years. And part of it is because of the advocacy of a lot of men, which I am one of them, who believe that we need to change our view of fatherhood. So even fatherhood, in a way, I know this is going to sound bizarre, is becoming more and more of a maternal instinct. We're being more and more conditioned and raised as men to be able to care for children. So it's changed a lot. So I just wonder, as I reflect on Mother's Day, I wonder what the cultural changes are. What are the changes going to look like for people today who are in their 20s, for instance? How are they going to reflect on Mother's Day in 10 or 15 or 20 years? I don't know. But I do know this. Moms have a way of saying things that we have been sort of conditioned to listen to, right? Now maybe I'm 14 months away from being 60. Wah, wah. It's a countdown. And I still can hear my mom saying things to me. Now, my mom was not a nurturer, but I can still hear her say things like, Maria's a nurturer, so Maria will say things like, hey, put a sweater on, it's going to be cold. Which Silas will say, no, I don't want to do that. And then you got to make him do it because apparently he just likes to be cold. You got your shirt inside out, which again, Silas, and you look like an idiot. But Silas again will say, no, I insist on my right to wear my shirt inside out. So Maria's very maternal. Don't go out if you're wet. If you just took a shower or something, don't go outside. Wait till you're dry. You're gonna get cold. Things like that. My mom wasn't. It was eat your vegetables, eat your oatmeal. Oatmeal back then when I was a kid wasn't this kind of good tasting oatmeal we have today. It was just this horrible lumpy something that you had to eat. And so eat your oatmeal. So I could probably think, and I want you to think while I'm telling kind of a dumb story, I want you to think about things your mom used to say to you. One of the things she would say to you, and I don't know if this is unique to any other mom, she would say, put on clean underwear. Not for any hygienic reason, but because if you had to go to the emergency room, you needed to have clean underwear. Anybody else, told their kid that? Okay. Now, I know it to be true because it happened to me. And I was about 9 years old. We were doing this remodel in our house. I'm all excited because there's something going on in school. My dad was out of town. I climb up this pole that was kind of a load-bearing pole in the middle. There was nothing on it. It was just a load-bearing pole. I shimmied up it and shimmied it back down it and got a stick about this big jammed up my leg. I went running down the house, screaming, crying. My mom says, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I got a sliver in my leg." She said, why would that be such an emotional, traumatic thing that happened? Until she saw there wasn't a sliver, it was a stick this long that almost went all the way through the other side. And I did not have clean underwear on. That was more disastrous, having to go to the emergency room. That was more disastrous than the actual stick in my leg. And you would think I learned my lesson. I did not. I had multiple trips to the emergency room in the next couple of years, again, without having clean underwear on. Now, I have learned my lesson. Being 14 months away from 60, I am fastidious about my underwear. Now that I have worked in an awkward conversation about Pastor Jim's underwear on Mother's Day, I would like to hear from you. What were some of the things that your mom said to you that you remember? Nina, can you help me out with a microphone on this? So think about something that your mom told you that had some bearing today. We're going to do a little bit of testimony a little bit later, but for now, this is just anybody who can think of something. You can't use underwear. I already used that one.
Mom said the prettiest girl doesn't always make the best wife.
Wow, okay. Guys, young men, y'all hearing that? Ray, you got me back there, buddy?
And he said right. Doesn't always.
Doesn't always. All right. Michelle's got one back there at the booth.
Whenever I would worry about something, my mom would always tell me, don't borrow trouble.
Don't borrow trouble. That's a good one. I like it. All right. What else, y'all? You got one over here? Uh-oh, Colleen's sitting right there. Here it goes. Let's see, this is going to be an Instagram moment. Let's make sure we get this.
She said to let them be.
To what?
To let them be. So, like, if someone's, like, being rude to you, you just let them be themselves.
Let them, oh, okay.
Or to use a curling iron instead of a straining iron to curl your hair.
Okay. All right. There you go. Some words of wisdom. All right, what else? David, you got one?
If this is the worst thing that happens to you, you'll be lucky. Stop crying.
There you go. There you go. Anybody else? All right.
Right?
That sounds like a mom that wasn't a super nurturer. That would be something my mom would say. So.
I do this because I love you.
All right, there you go. Is that right before you get a whooping, or yeah? Okay. This is going to hurt you more than it hurts me.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. All right. Well, that's a good one. Anything else? Because our moms say stuff we need to listen to, right? Right? Moms say things that we need to listen to. And if you grew up in a church home like I did, moms say, come to church, right? They would say, hey, you got to come to church. Now, back when I was a kid, you didn't really have an option. Everybody came to church. That's what you did back in those days. And today Marie and I reflect a lot on the American family. What does the American family look like? What is the dynamic of when we come to church? There's a lot of things that happen, and there's so many things that pull at the hearts of the American family, and they're good things. And so, like, coming to church with the same sort of regularity that we used to do things when I was a kid is not. It's not as much of a reality these days. So, for instance, a lot of us have things that happen on Sundays that we're going to go be, and they're important things, and we need to go do them. So how do we balance all of that out? And there has to be a component, particularly with Gen Zers, where there's this positive aspect of it. There's something that is for my benefit. And increasingly, I think that's an important aspect, because here's what's happened. Here's what happens a lot in church. When you speak of grace and you remove the fear of faith, of religion, which it shouldn't create fear in us. It shouldn't create guilt in us. Even when the pastor has to do an awkward talk about finances, it shouldn't create guilt, and it shouldn't create fear in us. It should create a motivation for us to say, you know what, I do believe in something that's greater and better and more. When you're a church like ours that does those kinds of things, we have to be able to say, here's the benefit. We have to be able to demonstrate it. In other words, there's going to be some things that are hopefully going to be shaped in your life and in my life because I worship, because I am a part of a community of faith. Now, there's new studies that have come out. I won't bore you with all the details, but studies of 35 countries, including the United States, of people that were regular church attenders, and according to the survey, when asked if they are very happy, they say 58% of people that regularly fellowship, regularly practice their faith. Now, this isn't just Christianity, but they say they're very happy. They're very happy, as compared to the statistic eludes me right now. Something like 51% of people that had stopped, and 30-something% of people that never had attended. So there's this recognizable improvement in how we see life, how we see people, how we see the complexity of culture. People that go to church are more likely to be active in their communities, active in things beyond just their local church family. They tend to be more engaged in the socio-political world, things that are important to them. There's a lot of benefit from being a part of a family of God, particularly a family of God that speaks grace, that doesn't speak indictment, that doesn't speak guilt, that doesn't speak fear into the hearts and the minds and the lives of the people that attend, but give hope. Which is why I think that moms say, come to church. I don't think necessarily it's that moms want to see all of their children's, smiling, shiny faces in a row. Maybe part of it is. I mean, we like to have all of our kids together. But I think there's more to it. I think that there's a measurable benefit to people that fellowship together, build harmony, build love, build purpose, build communities, so that we go through difficult seasons where we're with people that we know, we love, and we trust. And that's why I think our moms say, hey, go be a part, be a part of that. Go to church, fellowship with people. I think that one of the most important aspects of listening to mom when she says go to church and she encourages that, is that we're going to go through really difficult seasons in our life, aren't we? Right? We've been through them. You've been through them. I know so many of your stories. Some of you are going through them now. Some of you are coming through it. When I go through difficult seasons, I don't want to hope that I have a community around me, right? I don't want to just go, oh my God, my life just sort of imploded on me. I hope I have friends, but I haven't been to church in 6 months, and I turn to people that I barely know and hope that they're there for me. Now, probably some of them will be, but I'd like to test that a little bit before I actually go through something, right? I want to actually know that I have people because I've invested in them and they've invested in me. So that when I go through some of the challenging seasons of life, I've already proven that I have this community around me. To me, I can think of no better overall benefit in terms of our plane of existence than that. Because here's what I know. You're going to go through stuff. I'm going to go through stuff. We're all going to go through stuff. So going to church, in many respects, being a part of a fellowship, and we're in this season called My Church and My, whatever, we've been talking about a lot of things. My church, this is my church and my mom, which I thought was what Silas said. He says, you should call it, says, my church and your mom. He's rude. My church and my mom. Dad had better not make an Instagram reel. We just started up, and Nina's got new software, and they'll probably pick out the most idiotic things that, well, there you go. Yeah. Sorry. I want to be able that I have something that's proven. Something that when I know that the seasons of life are going to come, that I know that I have a proven community that I've been through things with. I think that's one of the most valuable things that you can say is the reason to come and to regularly fellowship with people. And even when we go through those seasons that we're busy, and I know it exists. We're going to leave here and go to soccer games like so many of you. I want to know that I have people in my life, and I do. And I can't think of any better reason to be part of a fellowship. I think that's one of the most important aspects when we put all of this on practical terms. Having been a pastor for, 30-something years, one of the main things that I hear all the time when I talk to people, say, share with me your story of faith. They'll say something like, well, my mom or my grandma or somebody talked to me about Jesus and talked to me about faith, and probably some of you have that experience. There's this wonderful story in the Bible of Timothy, who was Paul's young protege. He was the guy that he was raising up in pastoral ministry. And Paul tells him, he says, your faith, I've seen the faith that's evident in you because of your mother and your grandmother, Lois and Eunice. And they were, Timothy's mom was Jewish. And so he's Jewish by birth because your Judaism was defined by the mother. But his father was Greek. And so because his father is Greek, he was never circumcised because that would be the duty of the father. So he lives in kind of this, Timothy lives in sort of this strange world of having a mother and a grandmother who are believers and a father who's not. And remember, they're not believers in Jesus during his life. They're believers in Judaism. But then when Paul goes through Greece and preaches the gospel, because they know Scripture, they're able to recognize Jesus. And so his mom and his grandmother become saved. And so Paul actually had him circumcised before he went out to do pastoral ministry. He didn't need to. He did it just to be a peacekeeper with the Jewish people because that's where the gospel was going. And he always commended Timothy for the faith that was instilled in him because of the words spoken into his life regarding the scripture, so that when Jesus was revealed as the Messiah, they were able to come to faith. So now I'm going to talk to some of you young people. And we got a few that I'm going to ask some questions to. What were the things that were spoken into your life? What were the things spoken into your life so that when you saw Jesus, you recognized him? Now, I believe that everybody on planet Earth is going to see Jesus. I mean, we know that. And I think everybody on planet Earth sees Jesus in our lives in different ways. Whether or not we recognize Jesus is a whole different thing. So I want you to reflect on that for a minute. And then there's probably some other young people that may have some ideas. What were the things that your mother spoke into you? And you could throw anything else in there too, but something that helped you recognize Jesus, that helped you see the value of the practice of your faith. Something that helped you take that next step in your journey that goes beyond the faith that we have as children into the faith that we have as adults. Nina, can you help me with that? Who should we start with?
Around the slide. Seems like they're all over
Now,
here.
these are just some awesome young people we've asked, but some of you, other folks may have some ideas too. All right, Aubrey?
I wrote it down because I'm a writer, not a speaker. So this is my mom. We started regularly attending church when I was in 8th grade. It was my mom, myself, and my brother. And as much as I would love to be able to say I enjoyed going to church then as much as I do now, that would be a lie. We were still trying to find a church that fit us as a family. So my mom would force me and my brother, and sometimes our friends if they stayed over the night before, to get up early, put some nice clothes on, and go to a new church every weekend. We as a family decided on a merge, which was Cross Point at the time. And that was over 10 years ago, and we have attended here ever since. I struggled at first, and it took a while for me to find my place in the church and in life. But eventually I was baptized on my 18th birthday. I learned that God will call to you when you need him the most. And I learned that my mom knew, and still knows, that the love of God would strengthen her children, and that's what it did for me.
That's awesome. Thank you, Aubrey. Aubrey you just graduated an English major. Next week? Awesome. You're amazing. All right. Who's next, Nina? Kenzie?
Thank you so much. All right, good morning. Hello. My mom is over here. So my mom has taught me a lot, obviously. Moms are great. But when it comes to church, she's shown me the importance of showing up and being part of a community. She's taught me that showing up to church matters. It helps grow relationships with the wonderful people that are here. You guys are awesome. It helps me feel a stronger connection to God, of course, and it also helps me to see the bigger picture in life. Spending time with great people and volunteering my time to do things I enjoy, like working in the children's department here, singing up in the front for everybody, and then just volunteering in a lot of other places just around the community. Let's see, find my place here. They've just helped me find direction in my life to show the good I'm doing for myself and other people. It's also shown me how to live my life for Christ and being able to show his kindness and love through me. My mom has taught me, just like Pastor Jim has, to live and give generously, whether it be at church or with others. Showing up matters no matter where it is, but especially at church. Even when our family has 1,000 things going on, we try to find a way to be at church, even on Facebook if we have to. I'm living my life to be like Christ, but also like my mom.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you need to talk to a family about balancing faith and sports, talk to Kenzie's family. There's a lot going on. All right, who's next?
Well,
Do I got you?
I know one big thing that my mom has taught me that she continues to remind me of. I'm going to have a lot of relationships in my life, friendships, and they're all going to come and they're going to go, but this will be the most important one, my relationship with you guys, my relationship with God. And yeah, that's something I hold very dear to me, something that I know is important and I continue to think about and she continues to remind me of.
That's awesome. And that's, folks, that's actually it's very profound, because when you're in ministry a long time, when you have the same pastoral leadership that we've had here at Emerge for over 15 years, there'll be a lot of people will sort of come and they'll go. And sometimes that can be really hard for us. It can. But we have to sort of then look at all of who we are sort of collectively, the body of Christ, the body of the body that God's called us to serve and to lead. And then, as we've said before, I never know what seasons are going to be, but I pray that the seasons that we have are seasons filled with joy, with happiness, with that people can reflect on those and say those were good times and good people. And, wherever God calls you and takes you, I hope that the time that you're here and is always something that's remarkable and encouraging and life-giving to you. So, beautiful testimony. Thank you. All right, who's next? Oh, boy.
I would say the most important thing that she's taught me is that there's always something bigger than yourself. So if you're having trouble in anything, sports, school, I don't know, any situation, the way you deal with it is different when you feel like you're always having to do with something bigger than yourself. And I would say that's probably the most important thing I've seen throughout my whole life.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Delaney. Did you want to say something? I was just going to say with Delaney, that is something that you never lose your whole life. The fact that there's something bigger, and there's, particularly when things do get challenging and you kind of want to go, then you got to remember that there's a whole kingdom perspective. There's something that God's doing that we can't see. There'd be no way we could guess it. There'd be no way we could write the script out. And there's this place that comes deep. I think it's kind of when we're little kids, we talk about that well that springs up of life in us. It's something that's deep in the parts of our heart that maybe we don't even know all that well, but God does, that gives us this assurance that there's something more that he's doing that goes well beyond what we can see and experience, and we learn to trust it. And sometimes it's easier said than done, but it is the experience, I think, of people of faith.
One of my earliest memories of going to church is seeing my mom. I thought it was brave that she was like showing publicly her passion for Christ during worship, or during even with small groups, or like showing the passion by volunteering for things. So I thought that was really brave of her. And even though many believe that your relationship with God should be solely or mainly focused on you and God, it's good to publicly express that and to show that, show other people that it's okay to be passionate in public and be brave in your worship and your praise.
That's awesome. And that's a really cool, there's times in my own life where I reflected on my personal relationship with Jesus, and it could be a struggle. And what gave me a lot of faith was knowing that it wasn't just about me. It was about a sort of a collective experience of something, back to what Delaney said, was bigger than me. It was more than me. And that being a part of that meant that even when I'm struggling, my faith is still intact. I mean, there's a lot to be said for that, of being, that's one of the things that's so powerful about baptism is, yes, it's based on this personal decision that I've made, but what it means to be baptized means that we step into the body of Christ in a much more tangible and palpable way, and that's what it is. It's a testimony that I belong to something more than me, and That's a pretty good feeling when you're feeling like me is not much, you know. So, those are. Anybody else have something? Maybe they got an idea. This is one of those topics I think that sort of people want to reflect on.
My mom has taught me that you don't have to have a mom to be a phenomenal mom. And that your mom is not the one who births you, it's the one who loves you.
One of the things that Paul would say about Timothy is he says that I'm your true father, not in the sense that I'm your spiritual father. And it was very much the same thing. Timothy's father may not have even been alive at the time, and so Paul functioned as a father for Timothy, even though Paul didn't have biological kids. Anything else?
One of the most important things my mom has said to me is that your oldest and your youngest will get two different versions of you. But what's most important is that the oldest sees the same version that the youngest sees.
Yeah, that's pretty
Keep
awesome.
growing, mommies.
Yeah. Keep growing. I love it. What else, y'all?
I just want to say that I love seeing and hearing the difference between my mom's generation and the moms we're talking about here, because as we were forced to go to church, and I did hear her voice saying go to church when I got to that point where I needed to, but her relationship with Jesus was private, and there was things I didn't learn about it until I got there and was nervous about talking to her about it and realized that she had depended on the Holy Spirit her whole life and all these things. So I love seeing that the newer generation of moms have changed that, where they're open with their relationship, sharing it, and just letting everyone see the reality of how it works, and then that carries on to the next generation of moms. So.
There's the extraordinary, yeah, thank you. And I resonate with that too, because for my parents, religion was sort of a place to go hide. It was a place where we didn't really talk about the vulnerability. It was sort of these rules that you did or the rules that you didn't do, and it was very much burdened with guilt and with shame and with consequences. You know, if you didn't do this, this was going to happen. And the idea that you could actually explore faith was it was not even on the radar. You either just blindly, you just sort of nodded your head. The idea of asking questions and exploring wasn't even part of our, until I was much later in my life. And so I do, for all of you, everybody that's been given testimony, I do appreciate it, and it's very valuable. Your kids, the people in your life need to see you continue to grow in your own faith, and to see you even when you're struggling with it. There's going to be times, that you're going to feel beat down and tired, and you kind of want to cave in a little bit. But then your children, and this is for all parents or grandparents, often that, and even younger people that we worship with, they see this generation, they see you learning and growing and moving forward and becoming more than you were. And being just honest and vulnerable with your kids about your faith, I think the best things that we can do for our kids is to speak the word of truth into them, but then allow them to also see us struggle with things that we struggle with, and then as parents allowing them to struggle as well, trusting that the same Spirit that resides in you, that resided in your mother, that resides in me, that resides in my mom, that resides in Timothy, that resides in his mom and his grandmother, that same Spirit is what preserves us. So how else do we discover it? So thank you for that. What else, y'all? Colleen?
This might be a little hard, so. As we grow as people, and the way we view our mom,
will change. We didn't go to church growing up, but my mom grew up Catholic. So when I came to church, like, I know some prayers from just going till I was like 4. We didn't go to church after that. So it's interesting to me. I think my mom had faith throughout her life, but we didn't go to church for lots of reasons. My mom went through a lot of things, and I won't share those, but when I was a child or a teenager, I thought she was a very weak person. As an adult, look at it, and she's so strong and resilient when I look at what she went through. And, you know, it's interesting to me to see how as we grow, our view of, or our perception, or what we thought our perception was, you know, we lived that perception at that time, but as you grow and you learn and you grow in your own faith, you realize that that perception or that experience you felt was not, it was wrong. And not in a bad way, you just grew and you realized, wow, like, you know, people have their morals and their values, and my mom's like, you know, she had struggles in her marriage and lots of things, and her relationship with her kids, and she's like, I made a commitment, and that's what I'm standing on, and I look at her as the strongest person I know now, not a weak person, you know, and I've learned from that, and it's just amazing to me to see that. So we can learn from that, and your parents will speak truth to you. Your mom you're not gonna like it. You're gonna hate it. But if anybody's gonna tell you anything, your mom's gonna tell you the hard truth, and it's gonna be tough, and it's gonna suck, and you're not gonna like it. But years later, you're gonna go, oh crap. She was right, you know.
That's awesome. And it's part of the process of aging, of maturing, is being able to look, hopefully with a lens that's more compassionate and more recognizing who our parents were as people. I mean, it's a pretty cool thing to begin to see your parents as people that are living like everybody else, doing the best that they can.
Okay, well, one of the most important things that I've probably learned from my mom is she's always been like, be exactly who God made you to be. Like, who you are, what he's poured into you as a person, be exactly who that is. And to see her outside of here, she's the same person inside of here, but it's different. The hug she gives is so much more to somebody that needs it in here. Or the smile that she has is so much brighter to everybody that's in here. When she sings out there, everybody's like, oh my God, you're a great singer. But in here, they're like, that song was so powerful. And your voice is the word spoke to me this time. Or when she's praying, she says exactly what you needed to be prayed for, and you never even told her. I feel like she sees you in here without even looking at you. And that's important for people to come to church and feel like somebody sees them and that they're comfortable and that they're loved and that somebody's in here and they're being exactly who they're supposed to be.
And I think that's something that we should reflect, all of us, you know, whether we're, you know, parents or not. I think that the impulse to share the love of Jesus in a way that's meaningful that people are seeing, you know, I think otherwise what are we doing, right? Awesome. All right. You know what? It's a really wonderful, it's wonderful weather. And we're going to get out a little early today. Shar wrote a song that when we were talking about Mother's Day, she wrote it. So guys, why don't y'all come up? She wrote this a few months ago, actually. And it's just a beautiful song. It's called Carry Me. And man, I couldn't think of a better prayer for some of you moms, whatever Mother's Day looked like you. Because as I said earlier, it means something different for everybody. Sometimes Mother's Days can be very, very difficult. Sometimes we're going through things that it doesn't feel like we're being celebrated. And sometimes we have lots of family, and it's very, it can be very endearing and warm, and then sometimes it's not. And then as moms and as dads, as parents, frankly, sometimes we feel like we're knocking it out of the park. Sometimes we feel like we're not, right? Anybody feel like you're not knocking it out of the park as a parent? Yeah, we know that feeling. The reality is that in all the things, the promise of the gospel is that he's going to carry us through. And so I'm going to pray, and then we're going to sing this song. My God, I pray right now I pray for all of us, but this is a day that we celebrate our moms. And I know, I know so many people's story here, and I know, and a lot of them I don't, but I know that sometimes these are days that we look forward to, we anticipate we're going to have family around us, we're going to have such a wonderful day, and then there's other times that it can be really difficult, and the challenges that are in front of us, and struggles that we have in families, and some of those things we can talk about, and some of them we can't. And it can be a challenging day too. But we're all kind of in the same boat. We're all in the same boat of we need help. We're going to go through challenging seasons, and we need to be lifted up. We need to be carried. I'm so grateful all the years of my life that I've walked with you, how many of those years you've strengthened, you've carried. And I pray that right now for anybody who may be feeling some discouragement, that may be feeling some loneliness and isolation. Lord, carry us. Help us to understand that we belong to something more, something bigger. I love the testimony of so many young people, and some of the older folks too, that just speak of being part of something that goes well beyond this plane of existence, this life that we live right now. There's something more. And Lord, as Shar leads us in this final song, we do make it the prayer of Emerge today to carry us, God. Carry us. When we can't see around the corner, we don't know what's next, carry us. We can't see over that hill, and we have no idea what's coming, carry us. When it seems dark and we're fearful, carry us. When we're just tired, we don't have the steps to take that we know that are right in front of us, carry us, God. It's the promise of your word that you're going to bind up the brokenhearted, you're going to strengthen our feeble legs, you're going to strengthen our arms so that we can pursue the life that you've called us. I pray for every young person here, the word of faith that was spoken into them. And here's what Paul wrote to Timothy. He said, "But as for you, continue in what you have learned and have become convinced, because you know from whom you learned it, and how from infancy you have known the Holy Scripture, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith in Jesus Christ." Whether we heard the gospel when we were little kids and came to faith as little kids, came to faith when we were in 8th grade and baptized and we were 18, whether we came to faith much later in life, wherever we've come to faith, Lord, help us remember those words of hope that were spoken into us. And I pray that the gospel that's preached here at Emerge would never be one of pain, of indictment, of shame, but always one of hope, one of promise, one of a future orientation, one of security, one of community. Lord, over these next few moments as we sing this beautiful song, I pray you would just write it on our hearts again. That you do carry us.